I think that's the thing with the I don't want to call it panic. That feels like too big of a word, but with the worries and the concern about having DHS in any capacity on the ground in Milan is that the Olympics are meant to be games for peace and for connection and not division, devoid of politics, although inevitably sport and politics go hand in hand. But you see this headline, you read the news about this, as somebody who gave not a small portion of their life to these ideals of the Olympics, what are you thinking?
Well, obviously, security, making sure people are safe is a top priority and concern. And if we didn't have this complete debacle in the United States of America with
Mm.
these masked ICE agents who are going beyond our people's constitutional rights, they've got everyone so mad, not just the United States, but around the world. It really speaks volumes when we have a division of ICE, the Homeland Security Investigations, that is going to Italy to serve in an advisory role to ensure that the collective good is safe. They're not going to have any presence on the ground. They're not going to be doing any immigration enforcement in Italy. But the fact that so many Italians are protesting this really sheds light on the bigger picture. When I was competing for the USA, every time we would go to a different country to compete, we were always welcomed with open arms. You're the United States of America. We love you. Welcome. And now look at it. People in Italy are protesting the presence of federal agents from the United States who are there to just serve an advisory role. And so I think that really this is a bigger picture in that while the Homeland Security Investigations team being there to provide safety and backup isn't as alarming as it people make it seem to be. The fact that it has taken such a precedent on the world stage and got people afraid of Americans is a much bigger and scarier message and picture.
What do you think then their risks for either the image of the Olympics overall or maybe just Team USA? Because that sort of fear that's built in now to the presence of Team USA has to affect how these athletes are going to be and maybe behave while they're in, Italy.
That's a great question. And having lived at the Olympic Training Center in Lake Placid, New York, being an alternate for the 2014 Sochi Olympics, being a member of Team USA for a few years, I can tell you one thing, that those athletes are singly focused on one thing, and that's competing to the best of their abilities. And as athletes who are competing at such an elite level, they have training in shutting out distraction from personal to geopolitical matters. And so while I can't speak on behalf of every Olympian, I do think that they're there for one purpose, and that's to win a gold. But for the spectators who are there, for the people who are welcoming Americans into Italy and from all over the country, like, yeah, having an ICE presence there with everything they're seeing on television day to day is going to create, for some people, an environment that wouldn't be as peaceful if it were otherwise.
In other Olympians and athletes on Team USA that I've talked to, both current and former, they've said that this might be a distraction, maybe not to the athletes, but for the games. And to you, what's the harm being done in just having that distraction to the overall ideals of the Olympics?
Yeah. Yeah, and I've always admired athletes who use their platform to raise social injustices, to speak their minds. I think it's complete bullshit when people say, "Hey, you're an athlete, stay your lane," or "You're an actor, just make movies." These people are human beings too. They're watching the news. They have a sense of justice. And we had a saying with the Olympic motto, "Citius Altius Fortius," bigger, faster, stronger, and that mindset also translates into looking after the underdogs, making sure that people have a level playing field, making sure that fairness and justice is carried out. And so it's not too unbelievable to then see that athletes are going to, hopefully take a stand if they have that opportunity on the podium, to then after the competition is done to speak their mind, and to raise awareness around issues that are important to them. I'm sure we'll see some of that, and I'm sure we'll see the naysayers who say they shouldn't have political
Mhm.
opinions. But how can someone not have a political opinion in today's day and age when everything you turn on has got some commentary, some hot take, and people are in ways more informed now, but also less informed. They're just getting information from all over the place. So, yeah, it certainly is a distraction, not only for athletes, but with all of the commotion going on with ice in Minnesota and around the nation. It's also, I believe, going to take an economic toll, because it's really difficult for people to show up and stay focused on work and what they go to jobs for when there's so many things that are developing throughout the day. It's such a distraction, and all of this is being, the distraction starts at the top. So it really is, and that's a little bit outside the scope of the Olympics, but going back to being distractions and um, taking away from the like the unifying message of the Olympics. It is contrary to that message.
Is is the news of HSI being on the ground there dampening your excitement for this? Because this is, I mean, I don't want to mix a sports metaphor with the sports metaphor, but like the Winter Olympics are your Super Bowl. So like this is, this has got to, it's always got to be exciting for you to watch Team USA, especially in bobsled. But knowing that this part of the Trump administration is creeping into these games, is that dampening your spirits about cheering on Team USA a little bit?
No, not necessarily. I don't think that this is super unusual. I think that if ICE weren't acting so inappropriately and unlawful in America, and they weren't in the headlines, this would be over. This would be not a big deal at all. So
Yeah.
I try to not be an alarmist, especially as a state representative with quite a big platform of constituents who follow me. I try not to raise the alarm and get people Uh, scared if I don't have to, because there's already so much that's frightening people. But I do think that because of the optics at home and the terrible things that are happening in the U.S., people of Italy have a right to be upset, and I know that they have been protesting the presence of Homeland Security investigations, which is a sector of
Mm.
ICE.
Yeah. Are you worried at all, either as an athlete or as a state representative, about what HSI might actually be doing there? Because we've recently seen DHS agents try to enter embassies. We've seen the United States government apparently detain and whisk away Scottish citizens. There was a new leak today from the FBI where it sounded like U.S. Agents of either Department of Justice or DHS may have temporarily invaded Mexico to arrest a former Team USA member uh, who was allegedly involved in drug trafficking. I should make that clear. So, were you worried about just how honest the administration is being about what these agents' role will be?
That's a valid point, and I think there is an example that gives me concern. At first, Italian um, officials denied that
Mm.
the Homeland Security investigations firm ICE would be there, and then when pressed on it further, they had to acknowledge that they would be, but then tried to downplay it. I always feel like being forthright and honest is the best policy, and they should have been forthright with that they would have a advisory role in security when it comes to um, just basic general safety protocol. So that is a legitimate cause to be concerned.
Yeah.